right, joining us now to discuss BTC price is Nick Mancini. He's a director of research at trading sentiment tracker Trade the Chain. Hi there, Nick. So what trends in sentiment are you seeing for BTC that are most notable?
Yes, so probably the biggest thing that we're noticing right now is that daily sentiment has been bearish for going on about 4 or 5 days now. It really started tipping into heavy bearish territory shortly after Jerome Powell's speech Friday afternoon, indicating there would be quote unquote pain coming for the economy. Traders, risk traders, I should say, both equities and crypto, didn't take that lightly and ended up, selling off heavily. And the fact that we're seeing trading volume up about 27% at these levels, typically when you see increased trading volume like that, price wants to break out of its range, potentially recover. The fact that we can't make it above 20.4K, 20.5K is very concerning moving forward for price action when you tack on the fact that sentiment is bearish. The Fed seems hawkish. And we have a very interesting macroeconomic situation going on with both European energy prices, Taiwan scare, unemployment numbers in the U.S. being considerably strong. So we have a culmination of information that basically points in the direction that the Fed is going to take a stronger stance, and traders are taking in that information and becoming a bit more bearish and positioning for likely lower price action heading into September.
Interesting. Well, we just noted earlier that the Federal Reserve's rate hike decisions are having a serious impact on risk assets like Bitcoin. So are you seeing traders closely scrutinizing a lot of inflation gauges preferred by the Fed or other trackers and inflation indicators that Fed watchers look at?
Yeah, I'd say probably the biggest thing for the Fed right now, and the closest thing we're looking at is basically the topping of the federal funds rate. And I think that's when you'll probably start to see sentiment abate and rise higher again. I think in September, we're going to see majority bearish sentiment just from the situation of Jerome Powell basically trying to, crush markets. I hate to say it with that much bluntness, but we had Fed governors come in after the fact and basically tell us, the inflation does seem too high. We're not happy with where things are, and we will continue to hike rates even if a recession happens, which I think a lot of people have been wishy-washy on. Is if a recession comes, will the Fed continue to hike rates? Will they continue to take action? The signal right now seems to be they will continue to take action even if the economy starts to slow. And I think that based on the numbers that we see Friday will be a fantastic indicator for the next FOMC meeting on the 22nd. If unemployment remains strong, meaning right around that 3.5% number, I think Jerome Powell is going to have no other option but to hike likely by 75 basis points and draw a line in the sand and say we're prepared to do more if our desires, if our goals, meaning higher unemployment, lower inflation, are not met.
All right. August was seen reversing July BTC gains. What's in store for September?
Well, interestingly enough, there's two sides of the story. It does seem that, from a historical perspective, we're setting up for another bearish September. But I think many people forget that typically there's also a bullish start or at least a bullish wick in any extreme bearish month, meaning that even though we're expecting a bearish September, and I think that the recent lows of 17 to 18K are likely for Bitcoin and, triple digits for Ethereum. But in reference to that, there may be a lift higher to start the month or potentially in the middle of the month that spooks, maybe the bears and gives, potentially some relief. So I'm not saying that we're going to see a straight red down candle, but I do think at the end of September, we will be much lower than where we are now. But between now and potentially the start of September, meaning the first week, we could see a bit of a lift higher to basically try and buck that narrative, scare risk traders, and then potentially reverse down lower.
And just because this is just in today, but any sentiment from the latest news that the DC Attorney General is suing MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor and his firm for tax evasion?
Had a feeling that question might come up. And unfortunately, the news is a little bit too fresh to immediately opine on how this may impact things, because we really do need to dig into the details. But preliminary information is showing that it has not entirely affected any data that we're watching. Sentiment is not lower. Price action is right around where it was when the news dropped. And our community right now is aware, is discussing it, but is not taking immediate action in relation to it. And I think that's because we don't have all of the details. How much, exactly what is the round number that he's being sued for in terms of evading taxes? What actions will he have to take? What will his response be? Of course, he is kind of the Bitcoin overlord, or this big meme. And I think whatever he does, people definitely watch, but we have not seen any material change in any data that we're tracking in relation to his to this recent lawsuit. But we will continue to track and monitor, and would love to update if anything interesting occurs in the future. Unless
you're an investor of MicroStrategy stock today, in which case today is not the greatest day. May want to avert your eyes. All right, Nick, we'll end it there.
That much I can say is true.